Alright, so we're gonna get into this dev commentary, if you didn't know. This is Light Fantastic, my latest track. Large emphasis on sync in this, and general movement of Bosch. It's pretty good. It's not gonna be like the last DevCom, because Campister was more like, I don't know, this track is much better than Campister in composition and like structure, trick to trick kind of stuff. Like with Campister, a lot of this stuff was like sort of, it was a better idea to explain each part, but a lot of this is self-explanatory. Like a lot of this just seemed like obvious to do at the time, when Campister is more just like, what can I do new? What can I do that's, different or whatever? What can I do with this new engine, this LRA, to make a cool flat sled? But with this, I already knew everything, so this is more like, I don't know, this is just a really good quirk, I think. And I'm allowed to say that because I worked on this for such a short amount of time that I feel like I didn't even make it, which is why I've watched it a million times, because I just like it a lot. Alright, it's a good track, and I can say that because I made it, and I can say that because I didn't take too long making it. This took me 4 days. Probably the most like I've ever wanted to work on a track, because I don't really do syncs. I usually make a track and then pick a song afterwards. And yeah. Let me make sure this is the good screen area. I think it's fine. Wait, hold on, I could do one of these. That's cool. Oh, you know what? This is on. That's why. Then I do one of these. Fit the screen. Look at that. You can see this, and you can see my bar on here. Watch this. PP. Let's get rid of that. What was I saying? Yeah, so I really like this track. I actually forgot what I was saying. I just wanted to say that. And I would recommend a lot of people watch it, because I think there's like a lot of stuff that anyone can learn from this. I try to make it not extreme. There's rarely like anything that's more than a fling or a chain. You can see there's like a lot of stacks, but I think stacks are like their own thing. So it's basically just flings, chains, and stacks. There's a few ASDFs, but that's just because I wanted to do a couple of string nose ones, because I actually haven't done one of those in like a couple of years. I haven't really done many ASDFs these days, because there's really, I don't know, they're more of like a passing fancy for me. So yeah, this is more or less really simple. I wonder if the song is still enabled. Yeah, it is. But what I'm going to do is, we're just going to watch this all the way through, and then I'm going to pick apart different sections, like what I want it to do for each one, just so I can like kind of give general tips, little pointers, because Campister's flow was like maybe 4 out of 10, because I wasn't thinking about the flow. I was more thinking about like new stuff, but this is like where I put a great amount of emphasis on the movement, which I think is the most important part of tracks. It's just movement, because it's how you view the track. Things become more accessible when you can witness the movement, and you can see that he's moving to the groove. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I mean, so we're gonna watch this. I hope the music isn't gonna rip my ears off. A bit of fun fact about the music: up until right here, I was gonna use Dr. Carter by Lil Wayne, and I didn't. I used this because I saw this and I was like, wow, this is good. It's supposed to get a little desync here, but that's just because of LRA. See, it's back on now. See that little thing it does where it catches up? Alright. So that was the track, and there's like the whole ending, or is it the ending? Haha, you know what I'm saying? Um, so we got this whole first section here. Now I just made this on a whim. I was just like, or I said I wanted to use Dr. Carter because it's about Lil Wayne fixing rappers' flows and like how they rap and stuff. Which is I wanted to make one really centric on flow because that's what the first verse is. Um, and it's a pretty grooving song, really syncy. You know what I mean? You can sync a lot well to it. So I went with that, and then I found this, and I was like, wow, this is actually perfect. And so I think from here onwards, I use this new one, and you can kind of tell because it did like this whole thing where it's like ding, 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 in this whole part. Um, but this whole kind of syncs really well too. This syncs with like drums here. This up here. This is like it's a camera sync. Um, and then he gets caught right here, which is kind of cool. Like, that's cool, cause like it really goes like from like, you know what I'm saying, like banging to like one note, which is cool, cause it stops when he goes. Should flag this. Right there, that's a camera sync. I mean, a lot of this stuff was, I mean, I shouldn't even be commentating about this early stuff because this was all unintentional as it was playing for a different song. But I think it still works. This is like really where it starts kicking you off. You're like that. That whole like area here, there's actually one more stack in here because it's just, I count this as one because he hits it to the beat. Well, kinda. Because there's 8 here, 8 stacks, 8 parts where he's hit, and there's only 7 synchronized notes in the song. So there's an extra one in there, and I only notice it sometimes. But, hey look, it's a little happy face. Cute. Yeah, but I think that's weird. I don't really understand it. I went and watched it back like 100 times when I like first noticed that, and I was like, wait, what? And you can kind of notice, but the fact that there's like stops and then like beats of notes of lines kind of emphasizes that it's synced to that, so it doesn't really matter too much. Like I probably could have added another one in here and you would have noticed, maybe even another one after that. But actually, like the stack and like fling placement is another one of the parts. General like I guess like a whole vein of syncing. I got a lot of inspiration from for this track from the game Osu, where it's like it's a rhythm game. I mean, I put like there's like the whole thread of it. So if you've seen it, then cool. If you haven't, it's like a rhythm game where like you move your cursor around and then click notes on a two-dimensional screen to a beat. And there's singles, like just like circles, click them. And there's sliders where you hold and then follow it along like a path. And people like will map like entire songs with just like taps and holds. And a lot of the syncing in this is really based off of that. You got like a lot of the holds, you got the taps here. Like the stacks are basically just like tapping, or just like the bang, and then the flings are like the segues throughout the bangs. And throughout it, the flow, the rotation's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So we get to this section. Now, I don't really have anything in mind when I was gonna make this. I was gonna make it like something crazy fast, but like still in this kind of vein of style. And I realized I don't really need to do that, and it also kind of just didn't turn out like that. I like go with the flow. I don't like to pre-plan a lot of stuff. Like I gotta have like an idea in my head, but that's just like the best outcome in my head. But I think this was an even better outcome. Like literally everything in this track just really came out perfectly. Like this is, I don't know. Like I don't have a single problem with this track. I can probably point out one flaw in the rotation. Actually know exactly where it is too, and I'll point it out when I get there. I think maybe 1.5. I'm not really sure. I think there's 2, because I can't remember the one that really bugged me a lot. Maybe I just like got used to it. But we get into this first section here. Oh, we're back here now, never mind. Okay, flag. See, now every time there's like some sort of change, it'll change like what he's doing. I wish he had implemented this slower thing. I probably should be doing this in LRJS just because it has like the slow down and sync with music feature. But you guys can just imagine the music. Or I can just look through it and you can just be like, oh, I see what he means. See, this whole thing is just like, you know what I'm saying? It goes with the beat. You got here, that like da da da, that's all here. And a lot of this is choosing what to do when you sync, because there's a lot of different things you can do. Like, it's not always do something on every beat or do the same sort of thing every time. There's a lot you can do with, I mean, because he has like this whole square that he can be on the screen in. So I mean, you can move him around the square, you know what I mean? Like this whole thing, you can move him around, you can flip him, you can do a bunch of stuff. Like that's a good example. Like, I think this is a pretty good, one of my favorite things in the track actually, because like the scratch is sort of like, I don't know, the scratch really well syncs up with this because like he sort of does get scratched, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you know, I think this might be the part that I don't like very much, just because he does like this turn, doesn't fully turn, like he turns counterclockwise, he stops, and this is where he should turn clockwise, but he goes like a little bit after that. That always bothers me. This whole like three fling section, I feel like I could have done a lot better. And for some general tips on rotation, because I think this track, because that's like the only part of this track that I have a problem with rotation, is so you know, if you want to learn about rotation, you watch this track. You know, that's just a pointer. Keep Bosch spinning in one direction until you find like the optimal time to change him. That's kind of hard. That's not really a good explanation. Let me find a good area. Well, this whole track is, you know what I'm saying. But notice how he never just jerkily spins the other way. See, even here, he started spinning counterclockwise, and then I turned him really fast counterclockwise, and then I went further with it later on, and it was all smooth. Like, there was always like a transitioning period between speeds of spinning. This is a good section. I did a lot with like zero rotation in this track too. I mean, like in forms of airtime. There's some here, but this isn't a fling, so it's not really airtime. Got this whole spinny thing. This is another syncy part. I'm gonna flag it. That's cool. Now this is sort of an easy song to sync to as well. There's like a lot of stuff in here that's like, oh wow, I could really do something with this. And yeah. Notice how I spun them the same direction all the way through at more or less a consistent pace. Like each thing does like it's the same amount. Now you can spin them and not like, well, as a preface to what I'm about to say, because I forgot to preface it, is that when you do a sync, you don't just want to spin him. You want to make sure you can see the impact on his body. You can see that impact. You can see it at full speed. Well, maybe not this zoomed in. Maybe also because it's really fast and he changes direction. But like here, you can see that. You can see that he quickly rotates. You can see him a little deformed because it's to a beat. You know, you're not gonna notice it as well if he spins really smoothly, because it's just gonna look like he's like regular rotation. Like you want it to be noticed. But this is like a lot of this stuff is gonna be obvious. Not to all people, I guess. There's a lot of record scratches, which are great for like these half rotations, full rotations kind of thing. This is probably one of my favorite parts. I have a lot to say about this. Now notice how much louder that background sound is, like that, because I emphasized it with a long thing, because there's nothing else in the song that this could be syncing to besides that. So it becomes much louder. Like that is as loud as the one that happens here. I bet you didn't even notice the one that happens as soon as the drop, you know, happens, because it wasn't emphasized by what was happening. Like whatever you emphasize is going to be more noticeable. So that's that. See, I don't like this part either, actually. I wish this was more emphasized. This is probably a good example of how you probably wouldn't do these, because this, you don't really notice that rotation there. And it's the first sync in like this. You can notice this one and this one, And this one doesn't even have a stack. I just drew that because it makes it a little more noticeable. Yeah, so if you want to do like, you make sure you really spin him fast. Like the first frame afterwards, he should be going like a significant like degree more rotationally. Like that's good. This one isn't even that great. That one, and then this one isn't either. If I could redo anything, it'd probably be this. But you can still kind of see what goes on. This whole spot, for some reason, syncs really well in the video, not in the track, which I'm glad about because I was kind of worried about this part. So I kind of just made this on a whim because I was like, wow, this is really getting like too flingy. Because it was. I mean, I had like this thing, I had this, I had that whole thing. But I think it turned out alright. I think there's a good balance. More stacks, more taps, like hits, and then you got the segues. The hits in like the, I don't even know. I'm gonna make the official documentation of what this is. It's gonna be called hits and segues. This being like go poof, like a bang, and this being like the segue between the bangs. But airtime is also one. So there's three. You got airtime, you got your segues, you got your hits. All right. If you really break your track down into those three things, you're gonna have a lot better time choosing what to do. And I sort of had a system in this track that sort of implanted in my instinct brain because I just been playing this game for so long. I don't really know how I do certain things. I just know that I can do them. So this track follows sort of a formula on what to do. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. This is another part I was on the fence about. Like this whole area from like here to like here, this whole, I was sort of iffy about, but it came out really well in like the video. This is cool. This tail fling, he rotates to the beat. I think, I'm not sure if they'd be like, they might be half notes or fourths. I don't really know. Maybe they're half notes. I don't really know. Like it's like, I want to keep repeating that because she's like having the time of her life in the song. Yeah, but that's to the beat. I try to do that a lot with, well, I try to do this kind of thing a few times in the track, but it wasn't always successful, so I didn't always keep it. But yeah, the tumbling to the beat, it's always cool. See, a lot of the things you can do can add emphasis where there is not much in the song, which is always good to do. If you're going to sync a track to a song, then like you shouldn't just use the music to help the track, you should use the track to help the music. This is actually probably my favorite section of the track from that. I mean, even like from the beginning of this is cool. These flings are always cool. Like this is one of the few dual flings in the track. It's the string nose. These are always fun to make because they just work. I mean, they just look so nice. Like it's so clean. Like I like nose flings for like calmer parts, but if you want to do like a somewhat calm part and like an intense part, this is what you want to do. These always look great. Got this whole flip part. I'm just gonna watch this part in all its glory, you know. Now that is what I call great stuff. Where are we at? Right here. Okay. So, I mean, a lot of this is already what I've explained, but I'm still gonna do it. You got like this whole, see that? Up, down, you know, changing his direction. It's a great way to do a sync. It's a great way to take, to like signify you're taking it in a new direction, because you really are. This is a cool part right here, watch this. That wee, that's cool, okay? That's, something like I started to really kind of get into later on was like, center of mass, and how you could use that, like the whole rotation around what you're doing. Like these tumbles are cool, but this one doesn't really have like the weight to it, because it's like to the beat. Like it's not the emphasis of what the tumble's about. Like this next one right here, this is about syncing to the thing. That's so cool, and it's also emphasized by the fact that this is such like a powerful hit right after. He really gets like smooshed, so you're like, oh wow, that was cool. And so afterwards, I started making this nose. There's fuck nose, whatever. I guess it is his nose. Look, see, That's the real nose fling. That's the real nose fling right there, okay? What was I saying? Now this is another part that I really like. In this part that I really like, the music starts like it really picks up for like a half a second. So he picks up for like half a second, and it's really nice because you get the speed. Like speed variation is always important. It also aids, syncing. Everything does. Everything aids syncing, if that's what you're trying to do. Oh, let me flag it. That's cool. I don't think anyone noticed this either. I like this. I mean, it's not like unique or anything, but it's just like his arm. It's cool. It's like the different side of his arm every time. I wish I could have made it longer, but it wouldn't have like done well, and it also would have like ran into this. That's why I didn't do it. This is cool. This is a nice part. This is another center of mass. That's so nice. Like that is nice right there. You can shift him around, because like this more or less looks like just like one big chain, but you can shift him around it and like use that to aid what you're trying to synchronize to. And then it ends with one of these because it is like a major beat, and then this is it's like one frame off sync, and I hate it. If it were like one frame sooner, it'd be perfect. Even in the video, it's like one frame off, and it always gets me. What kind of sounds good in the track, but it's just like 0 errors because I'm playing it right away. The song is like perfectly there, but in the video, maybe there's like a recording error or something that loses a frame or two. This part's more of the same. I like this for some reason. Because like it shoots him in the direction and then there's a stack, but all it does is change his radial position without really doing anything. I mean, like it just changes his radiation, doesn't change his direction or much of his speed. I also do like how this really does look like it's shooting him into this, and then he just hits it. And this is probably actually my favorite part in the track. If you ever wanted to learn anything about rotation, just look at this. This is beautiful, okay? I'm allowed to say that because I made this track. Got the nice direction change. You see, like, when I was really wondering what I should do for this part. And I was just going to end up doing one of those tumbles to the beat, like the beat. And, I made it and I was like, this is not what I want it to be. And this is what I think is probably the most powerful beat, like powerful measure in the song. So I was like, I gotta do something crazy for this. So I did. I went like that. Now I could break this down and be like, this is like, so when you want to do like your rotation shit, he starts off in one direction, but you slowly ease him into this other one. And you keep it, like, that is more or less the same radial degree change each frame, even with the stacks in each direction. If you want to do a stack and really want to make it look good, don't change his rotation, like his rotational speed from like before the stack. Keep it the same, and it really emphasizes the movement. That's always good. There's a lot of different ways you can use stacks that I wish people would like recognize. Stacks aren't just like a quirking tool. They're like probably the most versatile all-purpose kind of thing. I missed a few zero rotation parts, I think. I'm not really sure. This is actually kind of cool. It kind of has like that LRJS camera feel. I don't really know how to describe it. It's more just because like, I'm not even sure why that happens. Because like sometimes he'll like land on something and for some reason the camera's really, see, it's not as noticeable here. I think it's how his shoulder moves, because like he's moving away from the frame border or whatever, the movement border.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good well, this is a cool section. Well, let's just start from where the flag was. So you use a calm fling for a
Oh, yeah.
calm part, then end it with like a hit.
Oh, yeah.
And notice, you don't really, if you're dealing with a song like this, even if you're dealing with like a regular, like a really standard song, You don't want to do the same thing on every beat every time that like whole measure is repeated, because that just makes the track look more repetitive, which is it's bad for business. So there's like different things I hadn't done before. Like I don't think I synced two things on these two beats there.
Oh yeah.
Like I used the drums for this. I hadn't used the drums since the very beginning of the song, and even then I only used the two, and that wasn't even on purpose. That was for like the song that I was using before. The zero rotations are great for these just plain beats too, which is cool. This is some more center mass kind of things. It really flips around the backside of that. And you can argue, I can argue like what makes that so important is the fact that he flips, and that's kind of the beat, and not like the fact that he's on the outside. But I think they kind of work in tandem. See, this is one part that I thought was kind of iffy on the rotation. This, because he's like at a constant pace. Well, he slows down, which is good. What I should have done here is changed his rotational. He should have gone clockwise instead of counterclockwise. But I went counterclockwise again. But I think it's okay because it halts and then it starts fast again. His radial speed. Get back there. And this is, see, I don't really know what I wanted to do for this last like kind of offbeat hit part, because it's kind of glitchy sounding, and I wanted to do like maybe some camera tricks in post, but I didn't really want to do that because kind of just ruined the feel of the track. So I just settled on this. So I mean, it's really nothing special, but as I said, like these are in by no means powerful stacks, but you can still kind of see each one does quite a bit to him. Not to his direction, but just to his rotation. And notice, whenever I do these, he's always spinning in the same direction. That's always 90% of the time going to look better. And I might have even done the thing where like it's hand, tail, hand. Oh, no, that's not hand. I don't think I could get hand there because of the line before it. Like a line right here. And this is probably tail. Yeah. Hand, tail, G-Well combos where like you do hand and wait and then do tail. Those look great because they're on the opposite sides of them. And they're both very powerful for spinning and rotationally. And they make it look like the well has a huge effect on his body, because with hand it pushes his whole like shoulder back, and with tail you can like do some crazy shit with tail. Like you can get this boy all the way up here. Okay, I lied. Well, you can usually, but maybe not there. Maybe I did it too early or something. And right here, this is like another thing. Like you want to know what to do for the sync. Like the beat started getting too quick, so I was like, oh, I could just merge this into like one huge curve and use like him swaying, because like usually like the tight hand flings are usually really, he sways a lot, so I used his swaying to my advantage. That's all. This is also a good rotation change right here. Fast, smooths, slows down, and then he only spins that way at a constant radial speed. And then you get the ending, which is cool. I think this is one of my better stalls. Not really a stall, I think it's one of my better endings. I really lucked out on finding this song. Like this whole track is a byproduct of just getting really, like I don't want to say lucky, because there is like a lot of strategy and there's a lot that goes into this kind of stuff. It's just that like I'll usually put this kind of effort into a track, but I'll reach like an impasse. Like maybe I'll run into a part earlier in the track and I don't have like anything to do besides kill the current flow that I'm working on or whatever. But I got really spatially lucky. This song is great. One of the more easy to sync songs I think I've ever heard. There's a lot of possibilities for this. Just overall, really good experience in track making, and that's why I was so inspired to work on this. Like literally, like I stayed up till like 6 in the morning working on this because I just did not want to go to bed. I actually made from like I think I made from where the hell is it? I think I made from this stack. Where does he go? Right here. I made from that stack right. I just say here, okay? Did this, all this, okay? Through here, around here, doing a flipperoo, flingaroo. I think I made all the way to like here, maybe even to like here in like one day, okay? And that's like a record for me because usually I'm slow. I don't like making more than like 5 seconds a day because of the fact that past 5 seconds, what I start making isn't as high quality as like the first 5 seconds. Because like I've gotten to the point where like I'm so confident that I'm working fast that I start to get I start to slip up. But with this, that just did not happen because I think it's honestly because you can like of me breaking down like airtime flings stacks into like the regular syncing thing. So I always had something to do. Like I didn't like usually I will like go and experiment, but this is one of my tracks where there's really no experimental stuff. It's just me putting all of the stuff I have on the table um, in a certain aspect, and that's probably just flow because I don't know. I mean I don't know. 'Cause usually with like stuff like Campister, I'm just like, oh, what can I do with flat slit? Let's find out. But this, I'm like, I already know my way around quirk, so let's just see how well I can make a quirk that flows. And so I did. And that's probably going to be the end of this DevCom. It's a little longer than Campister's by like 15 minutes or something. I can't even remember how long that one was. But I had a lot more fun talking about this because, see, with this you have to look at it as a whole. But with Campister you can break it down piece by piece because each one is really experimental. There's a lot to explain, but like everything in this track, I was just like, duh, that's what I got to do. I mean, there's nothing else that is acceptable to do here because like it's just so perfect. It's just such a bright idea. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching if you made it this far.